Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Out on Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ film festival. This is our 37th year, and we have some amazing films this year. As always, we have great short films. I am so excited about our shorts programs this year. One of our favorites is Connections, which debuts Tuesday, October 1st at 3 o'clock at the Midtown Arts Cinema, and then we'll do a virtual window as well. We have some extraordinary films in this program. I'm going to go around the room and let our filmmakers introduce themselves and tell you about their respective films. And I will start with Harris.
Hey, I'm Harris Doran, and I wrote and directed a film called 8 Minutes, 20 Seconds, which is the sun goes out, there's only 8 minutes, 20 seconds of sunlight left on Earth, and this guy Max has that amount of time in order to reconcile with his ex-boyfriend in order for them to be together in the last moments of sun.
Thank you. Star.
Hi, I'm Star Amerasu, and my film After Hours is a film I made while I was at film school. And it's about two trans girls in the bathroom, and they meet each other, and one girl's on ketamine and one girl's not. So uh, we see what happens after that.
Okay, great. Pierre.
Hi, I'm Pierre. I'm the writer-director of Flake. Flake is my first exercise in film school here in New York City. And Flake is a pretty simple coming out story about Kevin, who is a gay person of a more, let's say, not a more advanced age of a coming of age story. So at the end, he decides not to come out to his mother. But so in the film, we discover the question of why he considers him a flake and whether that's the right term that he describes for himself.
Great. We'll do the same order, starting with Harris, but just tell me a little bit about where your film is right now in its festival run.
Yeah, so we premiered at Aspen Shorts Fest in April, I think. And it played a bunch of festivals, Holly Shorts, and we're going to be playing New Fest next month. And it's been really great. It's been great to have audiences see the film and respond to it, and has been awesome.
Great. Star.
My film premiered at Frameline in San Francisco, and it's played at a couple other queer film festivals, Palm Springs, as well as one in Little Rock, Arkansas, and then it'll also be playing at New Fest next week or next month, excuse me. I think October 12th. So that's exciting. And I'm really excited to be in Atlanta.
Yay. Congratulations. We're excited too. Pierre.
Yeah. Flake is premiering at Atlanta out on film. Yeah. And so far, this is the only home Flake has found. It's a really small project, so I'm really glad that it has found its first home.
So, in this group of filmmakers, we have some newer filmmakers and then filmmakers who've made some other films. I want to talk to all of you about the challenges. What I love about all three of your films is that for a relatively condensed short amount of time, these films are all character driven. Can you sort of talk about the challenge of creating three-dimensional characters in a pretty short amount of time? Again, we'll start with Harris.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the trick of a short film is how do you get people to care in such a short amount of time? And I think it's sort of, starting late in relationships, I think is one thing of where you have people on screen who know each other. And so there's bits of that. It's also casting, making sure that you cast actors who bring that to the screen. Um, yeah, I mean, the challenges with my film was I was like, okay, this is a found footage film, and so it's like it's found FaceTime and audio calls,
Mm,
um, which was like, okay, that's gonna be like really great and easy. And actually, it was like the hardest thing. It was like much harder than shooting on a regular camera because you can't actually record FaceTime calls. So we had to do something where my DP figured out a rig where we had two iPhones, one on top of the other. So one was like peekabooing over and filming, and it had this rig. And so the actors were holding this like crazy rig with the phones like overheating. And so we had three iPhones going simultaneously to like download, and it was a nightmare. something that was like, oh, that's going to be so much better. It wasn't at all less expensive, and it was far harder. Um, yeah. So the writing of characters was the easy part. It was the free easy part.
Star.
I think the characters are important. Me and the other actress is my friend, and I wrote the role thinking about her.
Hmm.
And I feel like this short actually started as a school assignment where I wanted to make something really crazy and I wanted to be a superhero movie, but then I was like, girl, I have about one opportunity, about one day of shooting and a bunch of people to figure this out. So it's gonna go simple. And the assignment was two characters, one conflict, and a resolution. And so I think viewing it from that perspective, just like let's just see what the conflict is, give them a resolution, and then like figure it out. I think that helped make the characters really strong, and each of them has their distinct way of communicating. And I really thought about the person who I cast as my opposite, and I was just really thinking about how she actually is and then hyper versions of her, and so I wrote that into the character. So I think it's important to like think about who you are, like who you're trying to have in that role, the character itself. I think it really can, an actor can really change that character, so you want to think about like what you're trying to say and who that person is specifically. That was my lesson.
Great. Pierre.
Yeah, I love what you said, Star, about like lived experience and how an actor, right, himself or herself or themselves can, contribute to the character. I originally started this film with a different idea. It was a female character. It was set in a different place. And around like 2 weeks before shooting, I was workshopping the script with my producer and friend, and I was just completely stuck. And she just like bounced a question at me. It was like, Pierre, what are you hiding behind? And at the time, I haven't come out to my family yet, and it was a pressing, issue and problem in my head. And she just told me, like, just write down a script about everything that you felt, and don't put any filters. Don't try to just channel this into like a therapeutic exercise. And so I wrote this script as a character that is not imaginary. It's something that is very based on personal life, and it's more of just a visceral outpouring of personal lived experience. So I think with 2 weeks of time frame, that's the best way I could have done justice to the character. So yeah, that was how it came back.
I'm going to divide this next question up because I know that, Harris, I know that you have made some other short films, but you also produced a pretty significant film last year called Kokomo City. Congratulations on that. But how do you, so, I mean, how do you sort of see your filmmaking future? I mean, do you want to continue to do work on documentaries and shorts, or just does it depend on the project?
I mean, I'm working on both right now. I
Yeah.
have two shorts in post that I shot this summer. I'm producing a documentary that someone else directed. I think I'm interested in making my own work. I'm interested in also uplifting other people. And there are stories that are not my story to tell that
Mhm.
I like being a part of and helping, especially things that maybe are political in a way that is important to me. And so I guess I see documentary, which I don't want to be a documentary filmmaker myself. So I
Yeah.
think in terms of producing other people's documentaries, it's just is a way of continuing to put things out into the world that I feel change the world for the better and I feel like are important or serve some purpose. Um, and in my own work, often that comes out as, I mean, not this film, but often it comes out as comedy, where I feel like that's really important. So, yeah.
Okay, great. For Star and Pierre, do you eventually want to move on to features? And is there any chance you might be turning this film that you're working on into a feature? We'll start with Star.
Um, I love the idea of working on something longer. I wrote a feature, but it was different characters. I've also written this film, I like a 25-page version of it, which is kind of like a pilot, maybe for a TV show.
Mhm.
I think in my mind, originally, I wanted to write, like I said, a superhero story, but instead I distilled the idea of where like one character might meet another character and just writing about their meeting, and that's what the film became. So I think that's how I approach lots of stuff, is just figuring out a story that I might want to make and then figuring out the confines of what I can actually do. And so that's how I got it. I would love to write more.
Great. Pierre?
Yeah, I have a future script that explores the same dynamic, but it's in a different universe. This was still like a school project with like a kind of an academic purpose and exploring like a pure drama in one location with two actors. So in the future version, it's going to be set, in Japan and with a theme. I personally love burlesque dance, watching and also I'm trying to dabble a little bit into that. So the future version is gonna have those elements in there.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, final question. Can all of you talk about the importance of queer representation in your work? Again, we'll start with Harris.
I can think of that from a bunch of different angles. I mean, I think it's really important in terms of showing, different sides of being queer. I think like everyone's queer in their own unique way, and I think a lot of times it's sort of lumped into groups or even like your own group, within the queer community, and everyone has their own unique experience. And so I think it's really important to be telling like your story of like how you see the world and how you see queerness and how what's important to you. Um, and then I mean with this film, I mean I think this is the first one of the only times where I was like, oh, okay, both actors are gay.
Mhm.
Like they're both gay characters and both actors are gay, and this is a gay like love story.
Yeah.
And that was really important to me. And because like, I've been around of where, like actors were not out. Do you know what I mean? So like the fact that like actors are now out, which like also, the world is not fully changed, and neither has the industry. So like you can be an out like actor who works sometimes while a lot of other people don't work, right? So like the people that you see is basically the same gay people working all the time, getting those acting jobs, and a lot of other people getting one or two jobs and then not working. So there's still um I think it's still tough. I think there's very few uh like out queer filmmakers at any sort of really high success level in our business. There's a lot in the indie world, obviously, but like there aren't really very many examples of queer people who are successful as directors behind the camera, or actors in front of the camera. I mean, I think it feels like queer is everywhere, but when you look at actually like who's successful, who's making money, it's very underrepresented.
Sure.
Yeah.
I agree with what Harris said. And also, I think something that's interesting is we live in a time where a lot of people all around the world are struggling with lots of different things. And so I think struggle is not the only thing that queer and trans people have. Like, we don't have the monopoly on struggle. But I think that oftentimes people don't view us as our stories as being relatable to everyone. And I think that they really are. And I think as we move forward into the future, a lot of younger people are coming out as queer. And I think especially Gen Z has a lot more people who identify openly as being queer. So I think time will only tell. Like as we continue forward, film has been like the Academy Awards is like 100, not even 100 years old. So I think as we continue, it's just going to keep becoming more and more full of different people's stories to tell and being able to have the tools to tell their stories. I think it's becoming cheaper for people to access films and cameras and things like that. And so I have hope for the future of queer representation. And I think it starts at like film festivals like this, really
Mhm.
giving people um, the space to talk about who they are and where they've come from in this really kind of hard to access art form.
Okay. And Pierre.
Yeah, I just feel immensely lucky to live in a generation and also in a time where we have film festivals like this and also just have the internet to express ourselves. When I go home and especially when I talk to family, it's sometimes we have to live like a dual identity. So I think being here in this space, in this welcoming environment. Like each film that we do, each word that we say that is authentic breaks the stereotypes that were laid beforehand and opens up new doors to um, people who might be watching at home and might have dreams that they cannot express yet, but will express in the future. So, yeah, I think it's very important each step that we make.
Great. Okay. 8 minutes, 20 seconds, After Hours, and Flake are three of the great films you can see as part of the Connection to Shorts program on Tuesday, October 1st at 3 o'clock at the Midtown Arts Cinema, and then virtual as well. Harris, Star Pierre, thank you so much for sharing your films with us. Thank you so much for talking to us, and we cannot wait to share these your projects with our audience.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you all so much. Take care.
Bye.